Hello. I've selected to do a short presentation on Louis Dufort, who is a local Montreal electroacoustic composer. In this presentation, I'm going to describe Mr. Dufort's education, which took place largely here in Montreal, as well as accolades he's received. I'll mention some of those, and I'm going to highlight two of his pieces, one of which is a performance, or music for a performance by MHIS dance company, which is a highly acclaimed company from Montreal. And the other one is a performance, a piece he composed for performance in the Sorrentino Festival in Mexico, as well as in concert here in Montreal. Louis Dufort was born in Montreal in 1970. He was trained as a classical guitarist, though he became very interested in electroacoustic composition and actually received a bachelor degree in electroacoustic music composition from the Université de Montréal. He later completed his master's degree at the Conservatoire de Musique de Montréal. University didn't, in his studies in university, didn't alter his iconoclasm and originality, however, as it can sometimes. And is usually a constant battle when anyone is going to any kind of fine arts or something where you learn about structures and history. Oftentimes, an artist can feel that in their own creative process, where they do start referring and being a little more derivative. This wasn't, it didn't destroy Mr. Dufort. His passion for electronic music and his love of cinema, painting and contemporary dance led him to incorporate those elements into his composition. So his music isn't just purely inspired by music. It has many different areas that he's sort of drawn pieces from, and in the end ended up working in these different areas as well, as I will speak briefly of with his collaboration with Marie Chouinard, her dance company, and the music he's done for several of her pieces, and the one that I will highlight, Body Remix. For a better perspective on the meaning and, for that matter, what it is like to perform in this piece, I spoke to dancer and performer Megan Welbaum, who does dance for Marie Chouinard's company and has performed this piece around the world.
To me, the piece is about deconstructing the way a human body organizes itself and moves through space. For example, with our accessories, our crutches and elastic bands, they're added onto our body, and we have to figure out what are the possibilities of the body with these added accessories. How do I move through space and express the music and convey, my story in this alternate way? So I think, like Body Remix, what Louis does with the music is he remixes the Goldberg variations, and I feel like there's a parallel with the work because we don't approach movement in a traditional way. We deconstruct everything, you know, we go to places that are unknown, and yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
So to reiterate what Megan said, focusing more on the music side, as that's what we're interested here, is Mr. Dufort's composition. The performance is, again, a remixing of the body and the functions of the body on the performance, the dance performance side, and on the music, the composition by Mr. Dufort, it's a reworking of the Goldberg variations, which is, of course, his works for harpsichord by Johann Sebastian Bach. So in the same way that MHIS is experimenting with adding strange elements to the body and seeing how that affects us to give us some kind of perception of what it is to be fully functional and able, with quotation marks, person, Mr. Dufort aims to do the same kind of, the same kind of effect, at least, by remixing the Goldberg variations, doing variations on the Goldberg variations. That is obvious throughout the piece. If you ever get a chance to see it, the performance, I would strongly recommend it, and any performance by the company at all. The next piece of Dufort's which I wish to highlight is this, Pulsation, which is a multi-media performance, obviously between a percussionist with fixed media music as well as video. As I said, the piece was created for a festival in Mexico as well as performance here in Montreal. The percussionist who performs the piece is Philip Hornsey. He's a local Montreal percussionist, plays in an ensemble around town, and he helped with the genesis of the concept and themes for the project. Basically, the composition Mr. Dufort did was for the Pont de Papillon, which was a series of performances. Obviously, Pont de Papillon in English is Bridge of the Butterflies. And basically, there is a migrational route that the monarch butterflies take between Mexico and Montreal. And as I said, it's a performances that happen in Montreal and Mexico. And that's the theme, basically, that travel of the butterfly, and just a way to get performers to, a form of inspiration for performers to have, to come together and perform in this series. So I'm going to play some video of Mr. Hornsey just speaking a little bit about the conversations he had with Mr. Dufort getting ready for this, and just some of the instrumentation and so on that they used in the piece.
Actually, the percussionist, as he is playing the piece, has his back to the audience, so he's looking at the screen. And that way it really looks like the percussionist is interacting with the screen, as if he's following the butterflies and playing music as he sees the butterflies go by. Now, of course, the percussionist plays with a click track, and the video is predetermined, so everything is synchronized, but it's not by chance, it's all written down. And one of the instruments that he uses in this piece, I don't know what this instrument is called, it's an Indian instrument, and Louis came here to my studio. We were looking at some instruments that could be cool to use, something that was unique, and this was one instrument that we found that was quite special, and it does do something that resembles sort of the movement of a butterfly that's in flight. So when you hit it together, it creates a rhythm, and it goes, it ends up being at a quarter note equals 120, it's triplets. And we thought this was this was actually pretty funny when we first discovered that the instrument could do this. And so this was something that we used in the piece. At one point in the piece I hit the instrument, I had the actual instrument that I play, and then later on it comes back, but it's played by the tape part that accompanies the solo percussion part.
And there you have it. There is a rather brief and extremely amateurly edited video presentation on Louis Dufort. A couple of his works in some detail, some of his history, and some conversations with people who have worked with him. I had hoped to get to interview Mr. Dufort himself. Unfortunately, time constraints on both of us wouldn't allow that to happen, though we did converse in email a little bit, but I didn't get any direct comments from him. In any case, I encourage you to look into his stuff and also his collaborations with other people. Some of it is just phenomenal. In particular, the Marie Chouinard dance company, the work he did with her is just, it changed my view, at least, of contemporary and interpretive dance. I didn't think it was something I liked, and now it's something I'd like to someday collaborate with myself. One thing at a time. Thank you for your time, and have a good summer.